It's funny.
It's out of the rain, coming out until you go to bed. She had that 1982 phone. And she said, it's about time for the rest.
Last 30 seconds are all the hardest. I've got 6 o'clock. I would like to welcome everyone and thank you for being here tonight at our USD 409 meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order with the ordering and approval of tonight's agenda as presented, and I'd entertain a motion for that, please.
I submit.
Thank you, Sally.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you so much for the second. Is there any discussion on anything? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. Our first order of business tonight is to welcome and have the oath of office for our new school board members. And we'll start with Kathy Hines. If you would like to go to the podium. Welcome, Kathy.
So I'll just have you stand up here, and then I'll read it, and then you'll be back and raise your right hand. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I, Kathy Hines, do solemnly swear to affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member. So help me God.
I, Kathy Hines, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of the USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member, so help me God.
Okay, next is Janet Smith. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you.
All right, you ready?
Yes,
Okay. I, Janet Smith, do solemnly swear to affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member. So help me God.
I, Janet Smith, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member. So help me God.
And next, Doug Chowder. Welcome, Doug.
I, Doug Trotter, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member. So help me God.
I, Doug Chowder, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of Kansas, and faithfully discharge the duties of USD 409 Atchison Public Schools School Board Member. So help me God.
I think you need to sign. Welcome, welcome. Okay, next is we have some recognitions. And I'm going to turn this whole section over to Laura Batson.
And I am so excited because when you hear the word powerhouse, I tell you what, it is a powerhouse of a school board. And so we want to say first off, thank you to our school board members. You had at your place a little something from our business class at Central, but it's from every member of our Phoenix family to say thank you. We're very blessed to live in a community that's committed to public education. We're very thankful to have members of our community that support us. So thank you for me personally and for my own personal family, but on behalf of every person in the Phoenix family. And I also want to say, when you think of Powerhouse, and you think of students, you can't help but think of Soraya Burke. So, Soraya right now is a powerhouse on the basketball court, but previously, she was one of our volleyball team, led a vital role in undefeated league season and conference championship. As a team setter, she was the leader in our offense, recording 177 assists and 78 aces in league play alone. She was also a key contributor on defense. Beyond her impressive statistics, Soraya has consistently demonstrated leadership on the court and a strong work ethic that elevated everyone around her. Her dedication, skill, and competitive spirit exemplify what it means to be a student athlete, and we are incredibly proud of her achievement. But I'll tell you what I'm incredibly proud of, this young lady right here. She is, as a new superintendent, I don't think I've ever seen her without a kind word for someone and a caring heart, and always a cheerleader for every member of her team. So we do have a board member who has a small token and a certificate that we're going to give. And then I would like, Soraya has our fan club here, her family, and her coach, and some friends that I'd like for everyone, because we know it takes all of us here to come take a picture with her. Soraya, you do make us Phoenix proud. So thank you. So, come on up, board members.
back there.
If some board members will come into the center and some come around the back. And we all just kind of find places in.
Get right in there. Cassie might be in the front. You might, you're tall. Here, you get over there, man. Where are you?
Right here.
You see those now? No, but Janet's too tall now. Sally, get over
Hey, the bird family's like doing squats down there.
Her legs are on fire. There you go, that's much better.
Come on, Janet, where are you, girl? Right here.
That new backdrop is great.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Good.
Now, along that same lines, I don't think I had been in the district maybe 2 days and met another powerhouse of an instructor in our district, and would like to say how much I appreciated Chef Camille Shaw. And when you talk about passionate about their classroom, passionate about seeing our students succeed, it is this educator right here. And I am so thankful that she is a Phoenix and is part of our Phoenix. So Chef has only been with our district for 3 years. And in that time, she's made a remarkable impact on our Atchison High School and our CTE programs. Her passion, we all are aware of. And in there, that breeds over into every part of her instruction. Her leadership students have earned over 330 industry-recognized culinary certifications, including food handler, food manager credentials, all while maintaining exceptional pass rates, and 102 certifications earned in the first semester alone of this school year. 2 students have already been accepted into culinary schools for next year, and you just can't help but love her, right? She just brings sunshine to Atchison High School. She received a grant. She's always looking for alternative fundings and creative ways to bring more to our students and more opportunities for our school. So please join me in celebrating. We have one of our board members who has a small token to say thank you for being the educator that you are. Because we are family here. We are Phoenix family.
All right, can we all up my picture too?
Ready for you.
Okay.
So laid back.
I know, but the people behind me.
You're fine.
No, that's perfect. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, next we have the Atchison High School update with our awesome principal, Dr. Letitia Williams. I invite you to the podium.
So as she's coming up and getting ready, this falls under our strategic plan, bucket 1, under educational opportunities and learning. And Dr. Williams has really hit the part that she's going to share hard this year. And I'm very excited for her to share this data tonight with you and hear some of the growth that her building is making. So Dr. Williams?
Okay. Test. Okay. Can you hear me? All right. Well, I'm excited to be here to report on our work that we've done with chronic absenteeism at Atchison High School. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first up, I thought it would be very important to talk about exactly what chronic absenteeism is and what the research says behind it, and why it's important for us to focus on this area for school success. So chronic absenteeism is defined as a student missing at least 10% of their school days, or approximately 18 days in a year for any reason, excused or unexcused. I think folks get that confused a little bit, but if you're either excused or unexcused, that is also underneath chronic absenteeism. And why does this matter? It matters because of the academic outcomes. Students have to be at school in order to be successful in the classroom. The research suggests that children who are chronically absent for multiple years between preschool and second grade, are much likely to read at grade level by third grade. This has been shown elsewhere to make students 4 times more likely not to graduate from high school. So that is so important. We say elementary's here and high school's here, but they absolutely go together because of this statistic right here. Chronic absenteeism and the research also shows student connectedness, the sense of belonging, that piece. Chronic absenteeism can also further disengage students from their learning and connections with their peers and other caring adults. So if we don't have kids at school, we are less likely to build that relationship with students. And so we absolutely need our students in the building. These are barriers nationally that we see across the board when we talk about students being chronically absent. I'm not going to read every single one of those, but several of those will jump out at you that you might see as barriers with several of our students at Atchison High School. And then the big word there is disengagement, lack of engaging students, keeps students not coming to school. Just no meaningful relationships keeps students from coming to school. And then a lot of kids get discouraged when they are not at school and they're not earning those credits. And so what does that look like for Atchison High School? Hopefully it's moving on with me. So the next slide shows what it looked like for our attendance when I walked in as the building leader in the school year 23-24. When I walked in, we started out at 90.5% as a building, and that's that green portion. I do have, if you want to pass these around,
Look at them a little more closer. I'm not sure that they are much bigger there than they are here, but
It gives you an option to look at both of those graphs there. But when I walked in as the building leader, we were at 90.5%. And if you look at the end of the school year in 2024, as a building, we dropped, it's that green section, we dropped about 1.1% there. And so our numbers were not trending upward, they were trending downward. We had more students actually chronically absent at the end of the year than what we started at the beginning of the year in 23-24. This is data that's taken from the KSDE building report. And so this is where we were at the end of the school year in 24. And so we had to start asking ourselves some hard questions. What can we do to make sure our students are coming to school? Because we definitely did not want to be below 90% with our students coming to school as a building. And so we started to look at, on that next slide, how can we help our students overcome chronic absenteeism at Atchison High School? And so we sat down with our leaders, our superintendent, Dr. Renee, at the time, and she was just like, something's not right here, so we've got to get it figured out. And so when someone says that to me, I'm like, these are our kids. We want them to be successful. We want them to be in the building. And so that summer of 24, myself, Mr. Clarity, and Lindsay, we went to a professional development on chronic absenteeism. And we learned about the tiered system of supports for improving attendance at this professional development. And at that point when we came back, we learned all these great things about that tiered system, and we said, well, how can we get our students into our building? And so we formed the Atchison High School A team. I mean, we don't look like that. We might look like the A team, but that's what we formed. We formed the A team. I'm Mr. T. I got my chain on. No, so we formed the A team, which was short for Atchison High School Attendance Team. And on that team at the time was myself and Mr. Clarity, our school counselors, and our school psych. Our school counselors, Jerry Martin, Stephanie Burkhalter, and our school psychologist, Brian Keegan, was on that team. And we decided that we were going to meet weekly to start focusing on the data and what that looked like weekly, focused on class, freshmen through seniors, and really start to hone in on the why. Why are our students chronically absent? And so that next slide talks about the Atchison High School A team. Year one, our why was at the beginning of the year, we recognized that we needed to form a team to really focus on attendance as we ended the 23-24 school year below 90% as a building, and as you look at the graphs there in front of you, we were 4% below the state average with chronic absenteeism. So what we did, we began meeting weekly as a team. We started looking at that tiered system of supports for attendance, and our big push was school climates. We wanted to start with tier 1, which of course are those universal interventions that should reach 80% of your students or more. And if you think about the tiers, that next slide shows what that tiered system of improving attendance looks like. So that tier 1 is where we focused first, because we wanted to reach as many students as possible and get them to get to school. And so if you look at that tier, it talks about the steps there. It talks about the first thing is engaging school climate. What does that look like? Building positive relationships with students and families. The impact of absences on achievement, and make sure that was widely understood. Looking at the data, monitoring the data, and good and improved attendance recognized. So we wanted to be able to recognize our students at different times of the year and really look at those barriers that were stopping our kids from coming to school. And so if you look, here are some of the things that we did with just the tier 1 during the 23-24 school year. The first thing we did, we talked about 10 and you're in. What does that look like when we are passing through the hallway and coming into the classroom? We wanted our students to be in the classroom for the first 10 minutes so we can make sure we are taking attendance and getting kids in the classroom and engaged the first 10 minutes of class. The second thing we looked at, and we understood that instruction mattered, which was the reason why we put in that 10-year in. And then the next thing we looked at was really celebrating those students. So in the announcements daily, we talked about why it was important to be in school, and we continue to do that daily. Weekly attendance winners, we had our weekly attendance winners, and those attendance winners would be put in the newsletters. We made announcements at sporting events because we knew lots of people come to sporting events, and we could capture a pretty big audience at football games and basketball games. And so after the third quarter, there'd be a little blurb in there that would talk about why it would be important to come to school. It talked about attendance and the importance of attendance. We had an attend dance the first semester of the school year, and we had kids who were 90% and above were able to come to an attend dance during seminar time after the first semester. And then we also recognized students at assemblies. And so that was that big tier 1 push that we really focused on the first year. And then if you look at the next set of data, this was at the end of the 24-25 school year. I'm going to give you guys the wrong one the first time, didn't I? Yeah. Sorry. You got it. You already got it. So I'm going to give it to you. So I apologize. I pulled the wrong thing out of my folder. But if you look at the 24-25 school year, it shows you where we ended the 24 school year and where we ended at the 25 school year. So our building actually went up. So our numbers started to begin to trend upwards after implementing the first tier, the tier 1, the universal interventions. And so we begin to see an increase in attendance, and students begin to see, and families started to see the importance of being at school. So our attendance beginning to trend upwards, which is wonderful as we moved into the 25-26 school year. So we started to ask the questions, okay, so if we know those big interventions begin to help our students and it started to move the needle forward, how do we continue to improve for the 25-26 school year, which is the school year that we are in right now? And so looking at those tiered system of supports, the next step would be to really hone in on those tier 2 interventions. And so we added to our A team. We have a mental health liaison that joined our team mid-school year, the 24-25 school year, and so we added her into the A team, and that is Miss Lori Kelly, because we knew in tier 2, personalized early outreach and having those one-to-one interventions help as well. And so we added her onto our team. This year we've also added our truancy officer, Miss Rosetta Rawls, who also pulls students in for early intervention when she starts to begin seeing kids and their absences increase. She calls families, has conversations with students along with our counselors. And then we have our school-based therapist who also steps in if needed in those tier 2 positions as well. And so they are now added to our attendance team as well. And so again, those 3 ladies are all involved in not those tier 1, they are involved in tier 1 interventions, but also in those tier 2 interventions so that we can start honing in on those tier 2 students who need that extra push to come to school and really getting to talk to those families. We also added some things to our tier 1 school-wide activities. We started doing a school-wide attendance bingo. Weekly attendance winners were in there, but now we started to do a bigger push of taking pictures and just doing a big hoopla for them at the end of the week. Some prizes are now in there, shout outs in the newsletter, and we've also started our Sense of Belonging clubs, which are high interest clubs for our students on Fridays. And so we know that that connectiveness, those relationships are huge with kids and wanting to come to school. And so we have started having those clubs on Friday. So that's the next set of data that we really want to hone in on. What does it look like on Monday? Do we have the percentage of attendance of kids coming to school on Monday that we have on Friday when we talk about those clubs, and are more kids coming to school because of those clubs or not? So we're going to really start to hone in on that data as well. Where are we with our current 25-26 data? So right now, if you look here at the graph, our numbers in August, of course, are the highest, right? Because people are excited to come to school. We get kids here in the building. So our numbers start pretty high, but right now, it's coming around. At this point, the average attendance rate for Atchison High School right now is at 93.08%. 12th grade, we are still working on our 12th graders because that is the group of kids, they start getting senioritis a little bit. And so we really talk to them about being in the building. It's important, you're about to graduate. Yeah, you're almost done, but you're not done. Come to school. And while the 9th grade has the highest average rate of attendance right now because, of course, we've got our freshmen there. But as you look at those numbers, as you see, one of the lowest numbers is in November with our seniors. I think that's about the time of year where we really have to start pushing. And so we really honed in on which ones of those seniors are seniors that we need to pull in and have those conversations. And as you see in December, that number came back up. But those are the students that we really have been focusing on, is making sure our seniors come to school. And finally, where are we with across the board with our 9th graders? Our numbers are at 25.12% with students who are chronically absent, but from this time last year, we are down 5.72%. From last year. And as you look at this image, we try to remember that EduClimber is ever changing as we go through. It's an ongoing metric. It's calculated to date for the entire school year, so it ebbs and flows with how our kids come to school. And so this number could definitely decrease as we continue through the school year. That is our hope. We definitely want our numbers to drop drastically, if that is possible, as we continue to work with the 18.
Well, and I will say, especially in a period of declining enrollment, when
Yes.
the numbers are smaller,
Mhm.
to also see a decrease of 5 percentile points
Mhm.
snaps to the high school staff
Yes.
and to your A team for that, because that's some great work.
Yes. Any questions?
Keisha,
Yeah.
which intervention do you think is working the best? Which are you seeing as your most successful at this point?
The personalized interventions when
Oh,
you
yeah.
and having those conversations with students, because you really get to the depth of the reason why. High schoolers are a little different than elementary because they can most of the time drive themselves and get to school sometimes by themselves or drive or ride the bus. And so once you get them in and really have those personal conversations and let them know that we're here to help you. We have a car outside, we can come pick you up. Do you need us to call you? Just having those conversations so they know that you genuinely care. That has been a huge change once we added that personalized touch in.
And I noticed, how did you get teacher input on this? I mean, they're not
For
on the
the-
AT, but did they have to do something?
The teachers did not necessarily have to do anything, but we do regularly have conversations about this data so that we're able to see exactly where our students are. So in the newsletters that I send, or the weekly update that I send out every week, these same numbers are in the weekly update, and so they're able to see that metric and how it ebbs and flows, and so it's there as well. Yes.
What's the difference between the chronic absentee rate and the attendance rate? Because that's showing 25%, so I don't understand.
So that is our building wide, so that's when you add all the students together. That 25% number, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So like your attendance rate is on average, we have about 90% of kids in attendance any given
Every day, yeah.
By the same token, we have of our student population, about a quarter of them are considered chronically absent. It's two different measures.
So what's chronically absent?
Chronically absent means that they have more than 10% of days missed. So, for anything other than a school function. So like if your kid's gone for a sporting event, if your kid's gone for a field trip, that's a different type of situation. But if your kid's gone for a doctor's appointment, which is excused, if your kid's out of school because they got in trouble and they can't come to school, or if your kid's sick, any of those things, they are considered chronically absent if they're missed more than approximately 10 days a year, or 10%.
So this number would be the 10% and up to the days we've gone to.
Yes.
Yes, the current
So up
days.
to date.
Yes, up to this current.
And then does this reflect if somebody is like tardy for school, if they miss the first 2 hours of school but they're there the rest of the day, do they show up as absentee or how does that work?
Yes, they do show up, but they don't show up as absent for a full day. They do show up as tardy, and so that is a metric that we also start to look at as well, is how many tardies do they have in first hour, and so we're able to really hone in on some of those things as well.
Does that go into these numbers though, or is that reflected there? If they're-
No, these are for a full day. Questions?
Letitia, as always, thank you for the difference that you make, because you have really
Absolutely.
brought goodness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have our winter benchmark assessment report with Felicia Yoakum, who is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Assessment too.
Once again, this falls under in our strategic plan, under educational opportunities and learning. Ms. Yoakum will go over kind of what iReady is and what type of assessment it is. But in there, and we remember we looked at data in the fall. We also, and now we've taken our winter, and so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Yoakum and kind of explain this a little bit.
Okay, so we're gonna take a little bit deeper dive into our iReady and what we use that for and exactly what it's measuring before we look at the actual numbers. So iReady is a universal screener. So all students in certain grades are going to complete that assessment for reading and for math, regardless of any other information. So we're using that to get kind of that high level view of how all of our students are performing. It is computer adaptive, so the further a student goes, the more it challenges them to see kind of what their learning potential is. It doesn't just stop with a certain number of questions. It's responsive to how the student is answering the questions. Unlike the Kansas State assessment where it is finite, it definitely has a set number of questions that are already predetermined. It is diagnostic in the sense that it helps us red flag students' needs. It doesn't necessarily diagnose specific learning needs, but it gives us information that we can then use to start digging a little bit deeper to identify what we need to do in order to meet each student's instructional needs. So it gives us skill levels, learning gaps, and strengths for every single student. So we use it in order to help us drive instruction and design instruction so we can respond to each student's learning needs. So we call it live data as opposed to something like the Kansas State assessment or the ACT, which we refer to as lag data, which means we can't necessarily respond to it immediately in order to support that student. But with iReady, we can use that information in order to respond to each student's learning needs. So we do for reading and for math, and there are specific skills within reading and math that are listed here that are measured, and we can break down the reading and the math scores in order to look at those individual skill sets. Letitia did a great job of kind of introducing a little bit of what I was gonna say in regards to tiering. So we're gonna hear that a lot, especially when we talk about educational data. So tiering is basically just grouping the results in order to determine where we really need to focus our instruction as a whole before we dive into individual needs. So tier 1 is that universal, like Dr. Williams was saying, that all students, a large majority of them, are going to receive what they need from that universal tier 1 instruction. Everybody, no matter what, receives tier 1 instruction. So that's the green area. The yellow is our tier 2. That's where we might need to make some adjustments to fill some gaps. That is going to be small groups. It's very fluid. So tier 2 instruction happens on top of tier 1 instruction. So it's in addition to. And that's where we can use the data to help determine which students need some additional tier 2 instruction to fill those gaps, or to really help strengthen maybe some skills that they have some deficits or some specific needs in. Tier 3 is the red area. That is where we really need to look at specially designed instruction for students, or we need to be looking at individual student needs at a more closer lens. At sometimes that is referring students for our general education intervention team, and possibly looking at considerations for additional services that they might need because their skill deficits are more extreme. Any questions about that? Or keep going. So looking at our iReady reading data, our overview for 25-26 winter. Nope, out of order, so sorry. Maybe mine's out of order. Nope. We're gonna go to the tiering data results. Sorry, my copies are not in the right order. I apologize. I probably put them, it was working. Anyway, so sorry. It's a lot of information. I apologize. So tier 1 is that core instruction all students are going to receive, and this is how iReady identifies their tiers. Okay, so tier 1 is the core instruction. Tier 2 is some students. 10 to 20% is what you want to see in that tier 2 range. And then what we're really looking for is that tier 3 red range, for that to be less than 10%. If we're looking at tier 1, that needs to be approximately 80 to 90% if our core instruction is effective. Okay, I put them out. I got it out of order. I apologize, guys. Okay. The placement bands within iReady. So this is exactly how iReady defines their bands for their green, yellow, and red. The tiered system that I just spoke about is how Kansas defines it, but then within iReady, this is their definition. So it's very similar, but I want you guys to understand and be able to, right here. This one. Yep, I'm so sorry. So iReady defines on or above grade level as students are working above their grade level and they can be successful with their grade level content. So they have strong grade level instruction, they might need some enrichment or some push. That's where it's really great that iReady is responsive to student information, because it can push them to kind of see what their potential is. It's not just going to stop them at their grade level. iReady, for their yellow zone, they call that one grade level below. So they're saying that those students are extremely close to being on grade level with their skills, but there are some gaps. So looking at that student data, that yellow zone is going to tell us how we can either adjust our core instruction to add some things in if we're seeing a large percentage of students with the same need that's slightly below grade level, or we're going to do that small group instruction on top of our tier 1 instruction. But again, green, everybody's going to get it. And then the red is 2 grade levels below, And those students have some significant needs. Some of their foundational skills are missing, which is holding them back from being able to access their on-grade level content, their on-grade level skills. So we need to pull back a little bit and help fill those gaps. On top of, again, still, everyone is receiving tier 1 instruction always. We're not gonna hold a kid back. They're still gonna get exposed to their grade level content, okay? All right, I think I'm back on track, I apologize again. So looking at our iReady overview, we're gonna first look at winter 24-25 to winter 25-26. So we're looking at the same data point within the school year. So these are also two different groups of kids, because in 24-25, you have a first grader, in 25-26, they're now a second grader, okay? We had from winter to winter, we had a 1% decrease of on-grade level students. We had a 2% increase of some students that need some support. And we had a 2% decrease of students that need intensive support. So we always want red to go down, we always want green to go up, okay? And as long as red is going down, we're moving students up, which is always the goal, okay? And then I'm gonna break it down in the next one to show you fall to winter this year. So these are the same kids. A first grader is a first grader, a second grader is a second grader, okay? So we have a fall to winter increase of students that are on grade level. So green went up by 16% from fall to winter. We had a 7% decrease in the students that need some support, which tells you if that number is decreasing, they're either going up or they're going down. So then we go to the red, and we have an 8% decrease in students that need intensive support. So we're moving kids from red to yellow and from yellow to green, from fall to winter. Okay? Everybody tracking so far? I know sometimes it's a lot. That is it's mouthfuls. So, and I know sometimes I'm in it. So yeah.
Is the testing tiered or progressive along with the students? So like if they take a test in the fall, is it testing at different level than what they're testing in the winter?
Yes, because it's assuming that they're making growth between fall to winter. It's not the exact same assessment both times.
Think of it as moving the goalpost.
Yeah, so it's because you would have natural progression. Anyway.
Correct. It's accounting for that natural progression. Great question. The next page, I've broken that down, that's those same numbers down by building performance. So you have the elementary at the top. Most recent would be winter and fall. So you can compare each building's progress from fall to winter. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Questions about that?
Are we testing through 8th grade?
Yes. K-8, 9th grade for the first time this year is completing the reading diagnostic in the fall only. And then from there, we're identifying what students need to be progress monitored for reading. But we don't have any comparative data because they only take the diagnostic in the fall.
So the freshmen take it once.
They take it once and then
you
if,
determine.
yes. The guidance from iReady is if they're flagged on the diagnostic, then we monitor and we're giving strategic intervention along the way, and we're monitoring those students for their individual progress. Great
And
question.
that meets the requirements of the state's mandates.
And the state mandate is named the dyslexia assessment, but we're not really assessing for dyslexia. What we're doing is monitoring all students K-9 for a risk of, but we cannot diagnose. So we say dyslexia, but really we're monitoring students to make sure they're making adequate reading progress through their educational experience. And then if they are consistently read, not making progress, then we're having to intervene to make sure they're getting what they need, to make sure that they have progress being made, or we're giving them more specific services to support their needs.
And this starts at the elementary level.
Kindergarten. Yep. Yep. So when you see the elementary, that's every K-5 student is being assessed. At Central, it's K-8. At the middle school, it's 6 through 8. So it's all students. The only one that it's not all students is Central, because if they're 10, 11, or 12, they're not being assessed. Only if they're at risk, we're monitoring them. Okay, great questions. We're making some strides this year. But really what we need to be looking at as a whole global picture is last year to this year, to make sure that our students are retaining that and carrying it with them moving forward. So we're monitoring, when we look at fall to winter or fall, winter to spring, we're monitoring those specific students. But when we look winter to winter, we're monitoring our system and how we're supporting students. Does that make sense? Okay. So there's the elementary iReady reading data. Their most recent and their fall, there was an 18% increase of on grade level, 11% decrease of needing some support, and a 7% decrease of needing intensive support. So all of those areas are doing what we would hope. We want green to go up, yellow to either stay the same or go down, and we want red to go down. Okay? And then the next 2 pages are the elementary scores broken down for you in the same manner, but by grade level. So you can see kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and this is fall to winter. So this is the same group of students across the year so far. Any questions about that as you look at it, please let me know.
One thing to note, in kindergarten, you will never see red.
Yep.
Because 2 grade levels below. Okay, so that's important to note.
Yeah, it's very typical for there not to be red in kindergarten yet. So.
Because you can't measure it.
They count preschool in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one trend that we want to continue to monitor also is what it looks like moving through the grade levels. Because again, if we have really strong foundational skills, are they really retaining those and being able to apply them year after year after year? Are we really truly building a solid foundation to continue to build? Then we'll move on to the middle school and look at the same for reading. So their fall to winter, so same group of students through this year. There was a 9% increase of on grade level, a 1% increase of needing some support, but that 1% increase is okay, because then when you look at the red, you have an 11% decrease. So we've moved students not only out of red, but we've also moved them from yellow to green as well. So we can have some increase in yellow, because most students aren't going to jump straight from red to green. They're going to transition up as they continue to strengthen their skills. Questions about that?
On the 5th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and then again, you see it again on the, what is 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like that's the year that we're having some real issues.
5th grade and 8th grade?
For the 5th particularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one reason we really need to monitor that fall to fall, winter to winter.
So when they're 6th graders, we'll see if they've gotten it back.
Correct. So if you look at when we go next to the next page for the middle school, you can look at the 6th grade,
Right.
and this group of kids did regain some ground from 5th grade to 6th grade, because in the fall they came in as 6th graders from 5th grade 24% on grade level, and then in the winter, we had 35% now on grade level. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we're going to look at Central's reading overview. I didn't break theirs down by grade level, just because their enrollment is very transitional and very different. So we're just looking at their program as a whole and their system as a whole. But I'm gonna get chills saying these numbers out loud real quick. Snaps to Lindsay. 9% increase on grade level. 13% increase on needs some support. 23% decrease on needs intensive supports. Snaps to Lindsay. And her entire staff, her entire program. You're here. Yeah, thank you. But snaps to everybody that is a part of that program and really doing some hard work to really make sure kids are getting what they need. The data is supporting what they're doing.
Really emphasize on the fact that when you have a small group and you're working one-on-one, how much difference it makes.
Especially when they have that level of need. Yes, absolutely. But I got chills running these numbers. I was very, very excited for her and their entire program. So, okay, we're gonna shift gears and go to math. Okay, you're gonna see the exact same things, same format, but now we're looking at math scores instead of reading scores. Okay, so winter to winter. So again, a kindergartner is now a first grader is now a second grader. So iReady Math overview, winter 24 to 25 growth. We had a 0% change on grade level, which means we were able to maintain. We're kind of stagnant in that area. We had a 1% decrease on needs some support and a 1% increase on needs intensive support. So we're rather stagnant right now. Okay? And then we're going to break it down the exact same way. I tried to keep it predictable for you. So math from fall to winter. So again, first grader is a first grader, a second grader is a second grader. We had a 15% increase on grade level students across the district, a 3% decrease on students that need support, and an 11% decrease on students that need intensive support. So, moving in the right direction. I will also just state as well, this is the first year of our iReady K-8 math adoption. So we have taken steps to address some of these things with that curriculum adoption. And curriculum adoptions are big and heavy, and we have a lot of learning and adjusting to do along the way. But our efforts are already starting to show that we're headed in the right direction. So we're going to look at the same thing for all three of the schools, kind of side by side. So we have the elementary, winter to fall, central, winter to fall, middle school, winter to fall. Questions about any of those before we dive into grade levels and buildings? Good? Okay. So at the elementary school for math, fall to winter, so just this school year, 18% increase of on grade levels students, 6% decrease on students that need some support, 12% decrease on students that need intensive support. Okay? And then you have the grade level comparisons there for you as well. Any questions about K through 5? Okay, we'll move on to the middle school. Fall to winter, so just this school year. 10% increase of students on grade level. 2% increase of students that need some support. 13% decrease students that need intensive support. And big snaps to the middle school, all of their teams, because all of them are helping lift with reading. Their math team has really dove in with the iReady support and the coach and taken it and started running. So they're doing really great work. So, and then we can see the middle school by grade level. Questions about the middle school? And then same approach to how I presented Central's data. Fall to winter this year, 12% increase on grade level. It's very odd to see a triangle go from red and yellow to red and green. 8% decrease on students that need some support and a 4% decrease on students that need intensive support.
There's a lot to celebrate here.
Yes.
And it we should be.
Well, I want to thank you because this is one of the best reports I've
Thank you, Sally.
Give us the data.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
giving it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. Absolutely.
So, our teachers work extremely hard, our kids work extremely hard. So, that's definitely something we need to celebrate in there, and this is a lead measure, showing that our kids are growing.
Mhm.
You know, now, as Ms. Yocum said, when you start seeing that winter to winter, and that fall to fall, and that spring to spring growth, that's when you're gonna start seeing it on those higher stake tests. And we won't ever see it until we start seeing it fall, winter, and then fall to spring. So, this is good. This is good. And,
The retention's really what we're looking for.
Really happy for it. So, snaps to all hands.
Absolutely. Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Felicia.
You're very welcome.
Next, we have our finance update with Lori Lanter.
All right, and this falls into our communication. As you know, every month we try to do one kind of spotlight or highlight of kind of a financial update of where we are as a district. And so Lori, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Okay, we're gonna talk about capital outlay and where we get the funding from, what we can spend it on, and what we spent on the last 2 years, and our cash balances. Feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Okay. So capital outlay is one of our 4 funds that levy mills: capital, general, LOB, and bond interest. Just capital outlay, it has a current resolution or a max that we can go up to for authority from local taxpayers of 5 mills. We don't have to do that every year. For example, this year I think we're at 3.598. Last year we were audited or done at 4.6, but we do have the authority to go up to 5. Statewide, you can go up to 8 with a resolution, but we have not passed that yet. Then we also get revenue from state aid, and I think this last year was around $300,000. We get interest on our idle funds, and that has to go into capital outlay. A little bit also goes into food service, because their cash amount, they have to get money on that and go into their specific fund. And then reimbursements are also one of the ways we get revenue in capital outlay, and that's, for example, when Donna sells back old technology that we have, and we get our new iPads, we get that money and it has to go back into the capital outlay fund, because it also crosses fiscal years, when we paid for it versus when we get the money back. Any questions about our revenue sources? Okay, going into expenditures, can't really do much with capital outlay except for buildings. I call it the fixed assets. That's another big thing. You can't pay utilities out of it, anything like that. But you can do construction, repairs, HVAC, roofs, and I'll go on here in a few minutes and show you not a complete list, but a good sized list. You can also take lawnmowers out of here, vehicles, buses, furniture, and
think it was about 2016, 17, they made a special resolution that you could take salaries out of there only for custodians or maintenance in the district. And this last year, we did end up doing that. Okay,
Is
keep
there
going.
a limit, is there an actual number limit on things that you take out of there? There used to be so much on equipment, we could get some things out of there, but there was a limit on how much they were.
Do you mean building-wise?
Yes.
At the building, the district allocates 10,000 per building. That's just an internal number that we've given them.
Okay.
There's a
Doesn't-
limit with title funds that you could do with
Yeah.
equipment. That would not be at the high school level, that would,
PD,
yeah.
there was certain equipment that we could get, but there was a price limit on what you.
It's
it
not
had to
necessarily,
be over, a certain
Yeah.
amount and under a certain amount. I don't know.
not necessarily a price limit anymore, it's what you're using it for. And can that item not deteriorate, but is it a consumable?
Okay.
Baseballs, softballs,
Right.
stuff like that, that cannot come out of capital outlay, but a pitching machine could. Make sense?
So use as opposed to a certain amount.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
They usually kind of say, you don't want to take $2 out of capital outlay. That's probably not going to be
Makes sense.
a non-consumable product. Okay, any other questions? All right, if not, we'll go on to the history. I only went back 5 years, but this is when we got our most gains in capital outlay in terms of cash balances. And when I started this, 16, 17 years ago, our cash balances were under $2 million. And we knew if we had a catastrophic event, such as a building go or something, we could not afford to replace it. Therefore, one of the board's goals at that time was to build up our capital outlay. We have done that successfully, I'm proud to say. And at the beginning of this fiscal year, so 25-26, it'll be the 4.738, the number down there at the very bottom. That's what we ended last year with and started July of this year with. How we got there, and you can see our revenue sources, I broke them out there for you by year, and then the completed projects. I didn't want to list every single project by every single building because that would take forever. So I tried to group them together for you. As you can see, back in 23-24, vehicles and buses were a big hit ticket item because we bought our buses back. That was 1.3 million. We also can take leases out of here, so we take our iPads and our laptop leases out of here for all the buildings and for our staff. Like I said, the custodian salaries and benefits, that was the first year we have taken it out of there. And the building needs is more what Kathy's probably talking about, where each building is allocated X amount of dollars and they prioritize that to come out of capital outlay for those specific needs that would not normally come out of the general fund. Any questions about what we spent it on? I will say I looked at the numbers this morning, and this year, like I said, we're only set to mill or levy 3.6 mils, give or take. And as of today, we'd already spent almost 700,000 out of there. Parking lots take up a lot. That took up almost 320,000 alone. We're also working on lighting projects, just to name a few of the big ones that are coming down the pipeline. Okay. Excuse me. If you go on to the next slide for me, please. I kind of summarized up at the top where we're at, what we can do. The district, like I said, is at 5 mils authority. That means you don't have to levy that amount. This year we only did 3.6, like I said. And the max you can do is 8 with the resolution that would have to be approved by the voters. And then I went through and listed some of the items that you could take out of here. And then I think I kind of touched base on what you can't take out of here. Another item you can't is fuel or utilities, stuff like that. That's a consumable reused each year. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So our capital outlay, I kind of want it in your head because we're fixing to hit it hard. You're gonna have Dave come to you, our director of maintenance, next month with some options as a board for you to think about. We're gonna start sending you some information over this next month about some big major repairs that were not part of the bond. We have some bond money that will be carryover that will fund part of this, but capital outlay will be the other part. But by no means will we have money to do it all, even though we want to do it all right? On that, there's some major roof situations that need to be addressed. There's some major HVAC situations that need to be addressed. Major foundational repairs that need to be addressed, pump room. So in there, Dave's gonna do a very thorough overview for you next month as a board report. I've asked him to bring pictures in so you can see it as well. But when we talk capital outlay, it is a very finite amount. And as you know, just from homeowners, we say these are our homes here, and we're a family. As you go from your homes, how expensive it is to repair things in there, that is the choices we're looking at. So kind of wanted a refresher on capital outlay this month, so that way when Dave comes next month with kind of what are our options and let's prioritize, and Lori comes up with here's where we are with this, you'll have it kind of fresh on your head. So.
Can I ask you a quick, the bond that was raised last year, it didn't show up in the capital outlay budget. How is that treated with, because it sounds like most everything that was spent would have been capital outlay type of thing.
Correct. And the voters approved that, and that is done in a separate fund. It's all tracked in a separate fund. It has nothing, it is not included in the capital outlay funds. It's completely separate. So when I say that we have 4 levying funds, capital outlay is one of them, and bond and interest is the other one. So that is where that will come into play.
So in the projects that were completed with the bond and the ones that are still outstanding, because we have a couple of them that are still outstanding, they are in that bond and interest budget line on there.
Can you tell me again, I'm just clarifying, how much we have in capital outlay right now? You say, is it 4.7, 7%?
That's what we had at the beginning of the year.
And we have what now, do you have an idea, roughly?
Around 4,
Around 4.
probably 4.2, 4.3, depends on the timing of when, if we've gotten our money from the county, that usually comes in January, is when the big one hits, January, March, and then June. So it depends on if that hit. And going back to Doug's question, there is the bond and interest fund, and then we track the specific bond in a separate fund for the projects that went in and out. If that makes sense.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Lori, so much for everything. Next, we have Stop It with Laura Bassett. Stop it.
Sounds like a middle school principal days. Stop it. Stop it. That's what it's all the time. No, I'm very excited to share with you tonight something that is on all of our students, our secondary students' our iPads. It's a program called Stop It. It is an anonymous tip line. And in this is a way for our students to be able to share information quickly and anonymously if they are feeling unsafe or threatened. So in this, how Stop It works is it's an app on their iPad where they can get on their iPad. It goes to designated people in the district. And in that, they interact. It will answer some questions. They do not have to tell us who they are. However, it helps us to be able to track down what is going on if they do tell us, who they are, especially if it's a situation of misconduct or threats or anything like that. And I will tell you, the other day when we were at boardsmanship training, I got a phone call from Stop It saying we had an alert come in that we had a situation at the middle school that needed immediate attention. I was able to step out, contact our middle school administration who are already on top of it, and already had the student in the guidance center's office working with the student. Where I like this program, one, it's funded by a grant. so that helps. But two, it is monitored 24/7. So in there are licensed mental health providers and licensed first responders that monitor this. They have all of our information here for Atchison. So if something comes in at 3 a.m. Saturday morning that a kid is needing immediate help, they have our crisis lines information. They have our local police and sheriff information that they can call and get this child help. And that will help me sleep better at night, knowing that we could get a kid help at a moment's notice. So, just wanted to let you know that was out there. On there, it is at the very infancy stages. It's only been used a couple of times. We're still figuring out the kinks of it at this point, but it's a resource for kids to be able to use if they feel like they can't access help in the normal channels. It does not take the place of any other avenues that are currently existing. These are just ways that they can do that above and beyond. So just wanted to let you know about that.
If you're concerned about your student, can they report on that too?
Absolutely.
And how long do they have?
They've had, we did it right before Christmas, but counselors are just now going into classrooms sharing it.
Okay.
Can I ask, how much was the grant and who was the provider of the grant?
It's through an education, it does not have I don't know a dollar value because it's several school districts rolled into one. It's through SDAC Service Center.
Is that the software provider or somebody else?
SDAC is a educational service center, kind of like Greenbush.
All right. Do we know how much the cost is if it's no longer grant funded?
It's no longer grant funded. It was what, about $2,000 a year?
That's not bad.
No, that's monitored 24/7.
All right. Now is the time that we set aside in our meeting for public comments, and the board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about USD 409 policies and procedures. We do adhere to certain guidelines during the comment that include the following. You please sign in the request to appear before the board, which you did. The board president imposes a 3-minute time limit. The board president asks groups with the same interest to appoint a spokesperson, which we don't have in this moment. Comments shall be limited to issues and not personalities. This is not an appropriate time or place to make comments of personal nature about any district employee or anyone else. Persons making comments that violate the privacy rights of district employees will be asked to terminate their remarks. The board may refer your issue or concern to the administration. And first up tonight, we have Rachel Crosswhite, and her subject matter is bereavement leave.
Hello. Sorry. So I typed this out, so hopefully it will be better and easier to read. Apparently it's not going to be. I want to share with you what my family went through the end of November and the beginning of December of this year. On the morning of Sunday, November 23rd, my grandma passed away. Teachers are expected to come to school every day and put their personal lives aside, but I would like to remind everyone that teachers are humans. But with that being said, I did attempt to be at school on Monday, November 24th, trying to put aside my grief and continue to teach, only to find out at about 2:20 p.m. that day, my dad had passed away at his home at 2 o'clock that day. I was unable to return to the classroom and continue teaching, as I'm sure is understandable given the compounding events. I then had to spend the following day hoping to plan my dad's funeral, so I took that day off. The following week, I had my grandma's funeral on Monday, December 1st, followed by my dad's visitation Wednesday evening and funeral Thursday, December 4th. I was at school Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday that week. I was asked on multiple occasions why I was there, as people were surprised to see me. And it wasn't that I necessarily wanted to be at school those days while I was grieving these two losses.
but I had to make the choice because the district does not provide paid bereavement leave for the loss of a parent or grandparent. As a single mom of 2 kids, I already work 2 jobs plus DoorDash in my limited spare time to make my ends meet. So I could not run the risk of potentially going into pay deduct because of using leave time for these losses, knowing that we were coming into winter where there's a much greater chance that one of my kids or I will be sick and will need those days for that. I can tell you that obviously I'm still not okay and still processing through this, but I am doing better now than I was. But I'm telling you this in hopes that you will consider reevaluating the bereavement leave that is provided to teachers, at the very least to include parents, if not for all members of the teacher's immediate family.
My deepest sympathies to you, Rachel. Our deepest sympathies, and thank you so much for sharing your story. That's hard, and I am very sorry. Next, we have Cecilia Rediger. Did I say it right? Thank you. And with the sports cutting policy. So, please.
Hi.
Hello.
By the way, thank you for your service. It's board member
Appreciation.
month. My son's a freshman, and so this is all coming new, but there is no cutting policy for sports. And this has become an issue. He was cut from 2 sports, the second of which he expected to be on the team. His skill was higher than others, and anyway, I spoke with the athletic director and some others. I have not received any feedback other than a generalization when I've asked for specifics. I feel like, obviously it's the physical skill plus the intangibles like, coachability and behavior and such. But there should be, in my opinion, and, I've looked, other schools seem to have this, I believe, but there should be, like a rubric, basically, for who gets cut. I don't even know how many people were cut. And, I've asked a couple of times, a couple of different people, and I can't get any information about this. I was told that they give our coaches the right to evaluate and make the decisions, and I trust our coaches to make those decisions based on their experience in a given sport. This sport, I believe, the second one was for bowling, and that's one where I have questions. I believe it's a new teacher, possibly brand new with the sport as well. But it is hard to take some of the other issues. They suggested a face-to-face with the individuals that don't make the cut instead of a posted list. We still don't understand why he didn't make it. We have it feels personal rather than, and I feel like I don't know if it needs to be the same for all sports, sort of, or at least somewhat the same. I'm curious if the skill level was there, and it was more of a behavior thing, that, would that be the same if it was a sport like football or basketball? So I have, that's all I really wanted to bring to your attention. I think it's, not transparent, and that's what bothers people.
Right.
Transparency is a good thing.
Right.
Was there a notice?
Let us, yeah,
Oh, he was also cut from basketball.
okay.
He was ill on one of the days, and then the second day, he said he kind of forgot his stuff. He's sort of lukewarm about basketball. I just feel like we're a tall family, you should.
Yeah.
But coach, he was great about it, and I asked if there were any other ways he could be involved, and he offered to let him be the game film person, which I thought was great, perfect, but my son was not interested. But I was happy with the coach's response.
I'm thankful for
Um,
that.
yeah, I appreciated that he had those ideas.
And I thank you for reaching out.
Yes.
I will reach out to our athletic director, and one of us will contact you just by the end of the week, just to kind of share just that we heard your concerns and go from there. Not that it'll change any outcomes, but that we heard you, and maybe it'll change something for the future.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's the idea.
All right.
Thank you so
very
much. Next, we have some information on 2-Cent Tuesdays.
So, tomorrow afternoon is our 2-Cent Tuesday for staff. Those have been going well. Sent it out to staff earlier last week to remind them. And then for our first ever, not tomorrow, but the following Tuesday will be our first community-wide. And this is geared more for the not staff members, but just that community member. So after we get through tomorrow afternoon, Lindsay will be posting it on our social medias. I'll be sending it to Jill at the chamber. We'll be touching base about it. And this is for any member of the community who just like to come and share their 2 cents on things that are going well in the school district, things that they'd like to see changed, or anything they'd just like me to know. Or if you just want to come meet me, it's a great time to come up and just say hello. So that will be on January 20th, the first community-wide 2-Cent Tuesday.
That's gonna be great. I'm glad you're doing that. Any other comments on that? If not, we are going to move on to election of board officers for January 26th through December of 26.
Nomination.
We, entertain a nomination.
I would nominate Carrie Sowers for president and Brandy Ross for vice president. As a former student, she's always been reluctant. She has to be very pushed.
Matt, we gotta get a second first, then we'll talk about it. May I have a second?
I would second.
Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Now for discussion.
So, although I appreciate it, I really do. I am, so let me just back up. Let me just say that when I take time off from work, I'm paying pretty much to be on this board, because everyone knows we don't get paid to do this, so I have to use my personal leave time. It's not that I mind doing it, I did this because I wanted to serve, my community. My children were a part of 409, I was a part of 409, but I really had no interest in being a president or a vice president. I enjoy just being a board member at this time. I do appreciate it, I really do. But I would decline it right now. I just would. I'm sorry. It's just not my jam. But I would like to nominate Sally. I mean.
So we need a second on that then. I'm trying to follow the trend.
Good with that? Or, sorry.
I need a second first.
Okay, I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now discussion.
I could do it.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor for Carrie Sowers president, Sally Berger for vice president. Any discussion on that at all? Any other nominees? Thank you. I would entertain a vote on that then, at this time. All in favor, raise your right hand. And all opposed, raise your right hand. It does pass unanimously. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. Kathy's gonna get you.
She told me she'd be mad at me.
She'll be
and I
mad
said
at
she'd be mad at me.
So, next order of business.
That was good.
Yeah.
I got you well.
Brandy? I like it. The next order of business is to approve our consent agenda as presented, and I'd entertain a motion for that, please.
I so move.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Sally. Any discussion on any of that? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. That does pass unanimously. Next is action items. And this is the resolution for our board meeting. There was an attachment on that. And I would, Stephanie, would you read the resolution when it comes time? But this is just stating the times of our board meetings spelled out through December. And then we'll each sign this after it passes.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution designating monthly board meetings. Be it resolved that pursuant to KSA 72-1138, the Board of Education of Unified School District 409, Atchison County, Kansas, at its regular meeting held on the 12th day of January 2026, established the following meeting schedule for regular Board of Education meetings to be held during the 2026 calendar year. The Board of Education shall meet on the second Monday of each month. All regular meetings will commence at 6 p.m. and will be held in the Board of Education office at 626 Commercial Street, Atchison, Kansas. If the established meeting date falls on a legal holiday or a holiday specified by the Board of Education, such regular meeting will be held on the following day commencing at the same hour. A summary of regular Board of Education meetings for the 2026 calendar year are scheduled as followed. Do I need to read all that?
You don't need.
Okay.
No.
The Board of Education reserves the right to adjourn any regular meeting to another time and place.
May I have a second on that resolution, please? Thank you, Kathy. Any discussion on this? This is always just kind of a typical thing. We always start, do you like 6 o'clock? It works really well for most of us.
I would actually like to make a suggestion that we consider moving, at least maybe once a quarter, moving our meeting to one of the buildings.
Why can't we do that? Because there's a reason. We used to do that, but there was a reason they put a stop to that. Do you remember what it was? No, you're right. I thought maybe you guys might have done it.
I will say,
there
would be some logistic issues.
It was because Nicole.
We had a couple of people show up here for the board meeting and that they felt there was a lack of transparency and it happened more than once when we were at the locations.
Yes.
So it was advertised.
That's why.
So that was why. It doesn't mean we can't do it, but that was.
Okay, well, I thought there was something because of the way the cameras, they couldn't hook up in some places and.
I recorded it.
Okay, good.
Well, they were doing
What
it
was-
live.
We did it live.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Doing
true.
it on the
we did
television.
it live, yeah,
But now it wouldn't be a problem.
That would be a comment.
okay. To do it live?
We can do it on the press box if you want, right top of the roof.
Mr. Gentry, thank you for your input.
Thank you, okay. Yeah. That's what it was, something, yeah. All right. So, any other discussion on this?
I would say though, that as we move into things, it might be something to look at if we do, as we do work sessions or things like that, those might be something we could do. Because those would not be business as usual, that we could look at alternate locations, being in buildings, those type of things.
It was a good day.
Because it was nice, because they did their building, report, and you toured the building, and, yeah,
Parents from those particular students were more active.
yeah. So it's definitely, yes.
I remember we switched it because we couldn't hear.
We couldn't
There
hear.
were no microphones or anything. As a crowd, we never could hear what was
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. I remembered there was something, but yeah. Okay.
So there's a motion that has been seconded,
Mhm.
for this. Has a vote been
And
taken?
no, we have not taken a vote yet. We just had discussion, and that's something I think we could definitely look into for future.
What is this, because it does, we do reserve the right to adjourn the regular meetings to another time.
Yes, yes,
So we could, if we
Mhm.
decide
If
to
we
do
dec-
that
Mhm.
subsequently, we can still.
yes,
so-
yes. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you so much. It does pass unanimously. Okay, next up is, now, in the past, we've filled all these in and said at the end, made a resolution as accepted, but do you want to do each one? The governmental relations and then delegate assembly and community members, what's your preference?
So the way we did was identify people for each one of these, and like you said,
At the end, you made it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, not a motion for each one.
For each one,
Fill it in first.
yes,
Okay.
yes. Okay, so, first is to appoint a KSB governmental relation, and that usually in the delegate assembly representative kind of work hand in hand, and in the past, it's been Sally. But would anyone else like to do that? No.
An attorney would
Once I retire, I'll let you know in a year.
So
So,
what you do is you just kind of look at, see what they have people that come on and explain what's going on in the legislature, and then when we have our yearly meeting,
At the
then there are
delegate.
certain things that they put up for a vote, and I was the voting delegate.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Did you have to go someplace or was it
Yes.
like
Well,
on Zoom?
no, it was on the computer. They would get on like weekly
Yeah.
or whatever and talk about what was affecting schools, legislation that was going through, and then, they would allow your input, you know, you could talk and this and that, and then when it came to the, yearly meeting, which is in November, then you were the person for our school district that voted.
and they do it on Zoom, but you can do it in person at the convention.
If you go.
If you go.
don't have to.
No, you can do it on Zoom. And if somebody else goes, they can step in, you just
Yeah, like
tell
I
them,
couldn't go
yeah,
this
so
year
I
because
voted for you.
and then, so
Yeah.
she said for me. And if two people wanna do it, then you have one and then
An alternate.
an alternate,
Mhm.
so.
Would you be interested in that, Kathy?
Okay.
Okay, so Sally, Kathy,
Well, I just feel like in this day and age right now, we've got to be more aware of what the legislators do.
honey,
You
yes,
know, it used to be local school boards really didn't have it.
right.
They didn't have to be politics, and unfortunately,
Now, our policy committee, I don't remember who was on there, but I think it was Sean and Stephanie. Stephanie, would you still be willing? Brandy, were you on policy?
I feel like it might have been Diane.
It was
Diane,
Sean,
okay,
Stephanie,
Sean,
and
okay.
Sally.
Oh, and Sally.
it says Sean, yeah, Sean's.
Okay. Would anyone else want to do that,
I
or,
would do policy.
okay? Sally, do you still want to be on policy, Stephanie?
Yep.
Okay, so Stephanie, Sally, and Mr. Chowder, and then, Teacher of the Year selection, Kathy. Stephanie, were you? Okay. Okay, Stephanie, Kathy, and Sally. And is it classified? Okay. I'd like to join you, Janet. Anyone else want to be on classified or just,
I have been.
would you
I can
want to
stay
be?
on, yeah.
Were you on that though? Okay.
Okay, Slider.
All the next ones are you.
Okay, so Janet, Carrie, and Stephanie,
Step back and, you know.
you're awesome. awesome. You're a great board
This
member.
next one with me.
Sick and emergency leave pool.
Oh, that one?
Oh, Recreation Commission.
Commission.
Yeah.
You can do that one.
Yeah, and I'll step off that. So Kathy,
Blink twice if you're.
Kathy,
Great.
Yeah, because we just did that last month.
Yeah.
So y'all are real good.
only one person, yeah. So sick leave and emergency leave, and I really think this hasn't,
Yeah, I've been on it, but I don't think I've ever.
yeah, they don't really usually, so if anyone,
I was on that one.
okay, Brandy? How about Stephanie, do you want to stay on that?
I'll stay on, yes.
Okay,
And Janet.
so Brandy, Stephanie, and Janet, did you want to be on that?
Sure.
Okay. I love it. Okay, and then next is the activities committee, oh, the sick leave activities. Lindsay, can you talk about the activities and the staff wellness? They kind of, didn't they go hand in hand, kind of?
Activities is Tyler's athletics.
What is this?
It's a new supplemental or anything
Oh,
like that, that's
Yeah.
what the activities committee does.
Okay.
I would be on that.
Okay, Doug and Kathy, anybody else?
I'll do it. With Tyler? Is it with Tyler? Oh, yeah.
Janet and Kathy are on that one?
Yeah.
And then would you also be in the wellness?
Yeah.
Would you be on the wellness?
Staff wellness and district wellness.
So the staff and district wellness one was the wellness, the other one is a food service that was required by state statute to have in place, so that's why they're two different.
Oh, okay.
So the first one was our district.
I think we've been on that, but we don't really do much with it. Yeah, it was us, yeah, and we didn't do, I mean, I can do it. Let's do it, I'll do it. Bring it back, who
I believe
else?
Brandy said she wanted to be a part of that one.
I
knew that. Thank you, Brandy. I appreciate
So
it.
Carrie and Brandy on the staff and district wellness. Or Brandy.
Oh, she did.
Next is the calendar committee, and I will tell you, that is a fun one to be on. It was wonderful this last year.
I don't know.
Sally, who else? I'll be on it. So Sally and Carrie. And then chief negotiator, did you want to talk about that? Chief negotiator? We need to appoint a chief negotiator for spend Ethan.
Yeah.
Okay,
The floor is open.
yes.
You know, we have KASB, which we pay,
Mhm.
try to think about $14,000, I think. And in that, they have legal counsel. And in the past, there's a lot of superintendents who would say, I have them on speed dial. And educational law is different than just regular law. And a lot of, and Doug, I think, can back me up on the fact that in law school, they don't deal a lot with educational law for them. It's kind of an area that somebody has to really want to go into. So I feel like they have a really good handle on our ed law, and they're there for us. In the past, I'll start back with Dr. Butler's superintendency. Bill Sellers, who was the money man, was always the head negotiator, was always in-house. And then when he became superintendent, he continued to do it. Steve Pummel did it when he was assistant and when he was in. At that point, there were two attorneys on the board, J. David Ferris and Larry Mears, so they were naturals
Yeah.
to do it. But I would strongly suggest that we look in-house for a head negotiator. Now, our new,
I think as a board, I'm gonna let you guys decide. Your question tonight is, Would you like to rely on KSB, which I feel comfortable with? Would you like to rely on Houseman? I feel that as far as negotiation, the district and the bargaining unit will work just fine together. As we, have last year, we will continue to work fine together. We're all in the same family and we're all working for the same kids. So, but as a board, you make the decision on what you would like to do as far as the chief negotiator. And you let me know if you would like it to be Ethan Houseman or if you would like me to appoint someone in-house.
Do you think, Denver?
I think we can talk about it.
You have some options in-house?
I think we have some in-house options.
So we'll
can
use
do.
in-house, let's use the word in-house option. We will when we get.
Yeah, I think it's
So I
first.
didn't hear what you said.
We want in-house.
No, I know, you suggested somebody or.
Timron, our new.
Oh, okay.
Volunteering. But Nicole has, been involved in negotiations.
And she needs to.
So you could find somebody in-house.
Can any board member act as
Yes.
the chief negotiator as well? And I would have to recuse myself anyway, so I'm just asking for.
Yes.
They could, yes.
We can draw short straws. We can do goes. There are all kind of ways.
I'll give away the kitchen sink.
But I'd like to have a conversation, and not necessarily, I'd like to.
Tonight, right.
Right. I'd
So
like to
we'll
get the
say
team
in-house option, but what board members
So
want to be
can
on
we
that?
have, can we just appoint board members to the negotiating committee and not necessarily have to have a
And say chief negotiator, we will
Yeah,
discuss
to
at
be
a later
determined.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the committee can
Yeah.
pick that person.
So who would like to be on the negotiating committee?
I'm gonna recuse myself from that committee altogether.
Okay.
I like to be on it.
I've been on it in the past and I'd be willing to do it again. Janet would, good. So Janet, is there another one? That's, that.
Nope.
Sally, do you want?
I could.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so Janet, Carrie, Sally, and then to be determined on our chief negotiator.
Right.
Okay,
So I'm gonna run back these again.
Yes.
So we-
Really?
Yeah.
What?
So for KSB governmental relations and delegate assembly, I have Sally as the delegate and Kathy as the alternate on both of those.
okay,
On the policy, I have Doug, Sally, and Stephanie.
yes,
On the teacher of the year, I have Kathy, Stephanie, and Sally.
mm-hmm,
On classified, I have Janet, Carrie, and Stephanie.
yes,
On recreation commission, I have Kathy and Brandy.
mm-hmm,
On sick and emergency leave pool, I have Brandy, Stephanie, and Janet.
yes,
On activities, I have Doug, Kathy, and Janet.
yes,
On the staff wellness and the district wellness, I have Carrie and Brandy.
yes,
On the calendar committee, I have Sally and Carrie.
mm-hmm,
And then for chief negotiator, we have
to be
chief
announced,
negotiator to be determined, and board members, Janet, Carrie, and Sally.
yes,
Okay, so that's a motion, so somebody,
I would make a motion that those listed members be approved for the committees as recommended, or as stated.
awesome.
I'll second.
Second, Stephanie, any discussion?
Can I just ask a clarifying question?
Yes,
Just so we can let Mr. Houseman know. So there will not be an expectation that Mr. Houseman will be on site during negotiations this year. Okay. So that way he can clear his calendar.
okay, we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand, and it does pass unanimously for all those committees. Next, items for discussion and consideration is, with new board members, we thought about having a Board of Education work session, and Laura's gonna visit with us about that.
So, anytime, we we have several things changing at once. It's a good time to come together and to kind of go back over some things. Anything from what evaluation tools we're using on the superintendent, from as well as we're looking at our strategic plan and metrics, which are ready to start rolling out. And so it's a good time to kind of roll out a work session, which is more informal and not our normal business meeting in that. So wanted to throw the idea out there as a work session, kind of around the strategic plan and goal setting for the 26-27 school year. And something to do, set a date sometime between now and let's say spring break. Because we know after spring break, it's fast and furious for all families. So in there, I can send out kind of some sample dates and my Wednesday update. If I wanted to get a kind of a consensus, if you would be open to the idea and kind of go to the table and really look at metrics to measuring our strategic plan, the growth we're making in some of those areas, and kind of our creating that dashboard for our next step. Any discussion?
Are we envisioning this as a one-day thing, a couple of smaller sections, what are?
Probably, I'm just throwing mine out there, we've done this in the past, and I think evening works better, just to allow for everybody to get their work day in, and then I think there's probably people shaking.
It's a couple hours.
Yeah, a couple hours, and then we can just extend from that, to another meeting if you guys felt, another work session if you guys felt like we needed to do that.
We'll be prepared when you come. We'll probably, do a working dinner, so that way, and then, where we come and we will have the metrics kind of lined out, so then that way you can yay, nay, push, pull, things you like, you don't like, that piece of it as well. And then from there, we'll know, okay, let's play with it for a little bit, or let's set another meeting, to kind of go from there. So probably no more than an hour and a half, 2 hours at most on it. Would 5 p.m. be too early to start?
That would
5:30?
be too early for me, I would.
Okay. 6?
Like 6 or something like that.
6 works?
And is there a night that would not work for anybody that you want us to stay away?
It's pretty over there.
Monday meetings are good. I clear my calendars on Monday night works for me. I'm retired.
Mondays and Tuesdays. All right. So,
I get sassy after 7 o'clock.
all right.
Well, the brain.
Let's go into, we finished that, oh my goodness. So we'll talk about the work session, we don't need to take any action on that, we'll get the dates set up. Let's go into executive session. May I have a motion, Ms. Stephanie? Thank you.
Madam President, I move that the board go into executive session to discuss employment recommendations and individual employees' employment performance pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under KOMA, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 8:25, and I would like to invite Demarion Montgomery, Nicole Honeywell, and Laura Baxton, please.
May I have a second on that, please? Thank you so much. And any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. And passes unanimously. We'll see you back out here at 8:25.